Shiksha, wow.
You look so beautiful.
As do you, my darling, as always.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so excited to have you here because I've been wanting to interview you for a very long time. But I was looking for like a special occasion.
Okay, so
I think
this
I found
is
it.
it.
This is it.
Yeah, I say every day is a special occasion, but you know, that's
Today,
just me.
today is more special
Okay.
because Wednesday was International Women's Day.
Yeah.
And you know, you're somebody that so many young women and young girls look up to. So you're quite the inspiration for a lot of us. So happy Women's Day to you firstly.
And to you. Wow, look at how far we've come as women.
Right?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's so nice to see how we are progressing. And I was saying to someone that, you know, this journey didn't start when we were back in radio or television. It started way before, generations before us, and it will continue. But the thing is that we are making waves, and that's the whole point.
And it's so beautiful to see. Pinky, I was watching your Instagram on Women's Day, and there was so much that you were doing.
I know.
You traveled to Mombasa,
Yeah.
and then you came to Nairobi, and
Yeah.
you still managed to make it to an interview, and you know, you had appearances.
Yes.
And tell me more about being a woman who is able to handle all these things and just do it so gracefully.
Well, thank you, first of all. I think I'm very grateful for any opportunities that do come my way. So whenever somebody asks me to appear or come as a keynote speaker, that's something that I absolutely love, because I do use my voice as a platform to try and change things.
Okay.
And I'm able to do it because I have a great support. You know, so my husband is very supportive, so he's very involved with the kids when I'm not you know, able for pick up and drop off. And yeah, you know, we've got great house help who are also there. My mother-in-law is phenomenal, so it just works. You just need a good support. Yeah,
that's amazing. Now, Pinky, let me take you back to where it all began. We need to start from scratch.
Okay.
Right? Let's talk about how, you know, you being a Kenyan Indian woman, one of the very first Kenyan Indian, I think, media personalities. Of course, we had Zain Verjee as well back in the day. But like, you started off with TV or radio?
So I started off with TV, but let me just give you a fun fact.
Okay.
My grandmother, my nani, so that's my maternal grandmother,
right,
was a radio presenter on VOK, KBC.
That is insane.
Yes.
That is phenomenal.
So she probably was the first, you know, Asian woman in Kenyan media.
Okay. I did not know that.
It runs in the blood.
100%. And I mean, you're quite a natural. So like, is that something that, you know, when you heard her on air?
I never heard her because she then moved to the UK and I was very young. Yeah, so she moved to the UK. I never knew. I didn't really know that I wanted to be involved in media until I started on radio. I did an Asian community show on KBC on Sunday mornings. It was called La Di Da.
Okay, very interesting name.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure if you look in the archives, you'll find the shows.
Yeah.
And then we did a radio show on KBC as well. Community, once again, you know, it was the Asian, for the Asian community. And then I went into Asian radio when it opened up. And Zain called me. She was like, are you still interested in radio? And I was in the UK working with the BBC at that time. I was interning. And I said, very much so, because the radio bug bit me. And I was very, very interested in it. So she said, I'm leaving. I'm going to, you know, do television as my focus. So would you like to come in and sort of audition? And that, since then, I've never looked back.
That's amazing.
But that's, you know, just an example of how women can uplift each other. You see a talent in another person and you're like, just come. I'm going, but I want to pull you with me.
It's not all competition, and it's so beautiful to see because she saw something in you and she was like, you were probably the best fit for that role. And she called you up.
And she's still like that. She's still very much in my life. She still mentors me. She's, you know, constantly calling me, checking, what, you know, are you doing this? Are you doing this? Are you doing this? And I think you do need people like that in your life. It's phenomenal to have women like that in your life.
100%. Now, Pinky, you know, you've been on radio, you've been on TV, you were a beauty queen.
Yes.
Still are, looking phenomenal. Let's talk about your days as Miss India Kenya.
Okay.
You were the first Miss India Kenya?
Yes, I was.
Tell us more. I want to know more.
I was proud honeymooned in the year 2000 as the first Miss India Kenya. And I remember telling my daughter, you know, in 2020, I said, oh, 20 years ago, I was Miss India Kenya. And she humbled me straight away. She said, what made you better than everyone else?
Wow, that's a good question.
It's such a good question. And I think at the time she was 9 or 10. And because I've always taught her not to compete with other women. So I feel also, you know, it was phenomenal at that time. Maybe it has become dated, because why are we pitting women against each other? Why are we comparing women to each other? It was a privilege and an honor to serve my country, to represent my country on an international platform. But, you know, when my daughter asked me that question, I really had to sit and think, what made me better than everyone else? And I couldn't answer.
Wow. You know, sometimes I feel like, as you said, the younger generation will humble you.
Yeah.
And they ask you such questions that you actually think, and it really gets you thinking that, wow, this generation is ahead of us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why I always say, you know, like, there is some type of arrogance in the older generation, like, these kids, what do they know? What do they know?
In our time.
Yeah, in our time, we used to be like this. But I always say we can learn from the younger generation.
Yeah.
I love sitting down with, you know, your generation and the generation after you. Even my kids, I'm constantly learning from them.
Yeah, it's amazing. Pinky, so, you know, when you started off, you were one of the pioneers in the modeling scene, and you continue to do so on magazines, the runway. You've done countless fashion shows. You still work for some, you know, pretty big fashion designers to date.
Yeah.
How have you managed to sustain the whole modeling bug for this long, these many years? Have you managed?
So again,
still be relevant?
So this, I don't know. Like, I don't know if this will have any sort of context in the question that you're asking me, but my mum was a model as well.
Wow.
Okay.
So again, talent is in the family.
And she modeled for Jomo Kenyatta, President Jomo Kenyatta, when Kenya got their independence.
That's
when we got our
massive.
independence, at State House. So I remember her telling me these stories, and when I was 16, I took a gap year and I said, I want to be a model. And everybody laughed at me because I was heavier than I am now, and I had a unibrow, and they were like, you will never do this. And I love hearing that. I love hearing you will never.
Because it makes you want to do it even more.
Do it even more. So I've just managed to sustain it because I do like still working in the modeling arena. So, you know, with social media, you can still do that. You're still able to photograph yourself, use designers and show their, you know, clothes, outfits, accessories, etc. And when they ask me to get on the catwalk for them, it's more than an honor. Yeah.
I'm sure they also feel the same when you have, you know, Pinky Ghelani being the showstopper.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's probably an honor for them.
Oh, yay. Thank you.
Right. So, you know, I've always wanted to know something from you, you know, when this digital age that we live in, right? You didn't have that growing up, right? Phones and social media.
We had landlines.
Right? Landlines.
We had phones, but we had landlines.
Yeah, and now there's so much pressure to be relevant on social media, to be active on social media, to be able to have a brand that, you know, not just is known on the streets of Nairobi or on traditional media, but also on social media.
Yeah.
You need to be a figure, public figure on social media as well. You need to have followers, you need to have content that you're constantly posting, you need to be able to keep reinventing your brand. How did you manage to do that, you know, not being able to start off on social media? Because I know it's much easier when you begin on social media and then you move onwards from there, but for you it was the complete opposite.
And you see, my generation, which is Gen X, are very reserved. Completely. Like, even still, when I try and talk to some business owners, I'm like, you need to be on social media. They're like, I can't do that. I can't show off. And that's the mentality that has to shift, especially from the older generation. The younger generation do it effortlessly, easily. It's like ingrained, you know. It's like they were brought into it. So for me, it had to be something that I did for my work, and like you said, in order to remain somewhat relevant. However, I felt that I had to be really honest with myself as who I am, that I'm not competing with the younger generation. There is space for them, but there is also space for us.
100%.
And that's where my authenticity comes in. That's where I completely own who I am. And that's why I'm comfortable doing it. That's why I do enjoy it, because I'm not kidding anyone. I'm like, this is who I am, this is what I do. And if you like it, follow. If you don't, it's okay. You know, I won't take it personally. But it is hard creating content. It is hard maintaining it as a job, because, you know, there's a lot of noise out there, and the streets are competitive.
100%, completely. It's something that, I mean, we've all experienced as content creators. You know, the fact that you are pitted against each other in terms of numbers, in terms of your following, in terms of your engagement. So it's quite a bit.
But you see, like I always say, because again, I have to be very wary, and I think that's another reason I'm very intentional on what I do on social media, or just being in social media, because my kids are going to be involved in it, and how I'm going to teach them how to self-validate as opposed to look for validation
elsewhere
from your likes and your follows and everything. And it's a very fickle world we live in today. This one is popular, tomorrow that one is popular.
True.
And you just have to know what you want to show up as. It's very easy to follow a crowd. It's hard to sort of take the road less traveled. So I always ask myself, do you want fame or infamy? What do you want? Is it fame, infamy? Do you want to be Obama or Osama? Which brand represents you? So whenever I'm trying to, pass on a message or do something, I really sit with myself and think, what do I want my brand to look like? And does it really matter if it gets 1 million views or 1,000? And is the message that you've done, is it important? Is the message that you've passed, is it important? And that's all that matters. And like I said, I really sit with myself and I try and also figure it out, because one day my kids may be in this position where they're battling with, but we didn't get that many likes, so we don't have that many followers. And it's just, it's up and down, it, Shiksha.
I do. It says it's tiring. It's exhausting sometimes.
It's tiring, and like I said, you really have to be honest with yourself.
Always, always. Pinky, let's talk about this man in your life who you've really praised. We have him, we see him here and there on your Instagram, and he's just so supportive and fun.
Sure.
I know you two were together even before you became the Pinky Ghelani, and you've had your journey together, you've had your fair share of struggles, and of course now that you are the it couple and he's always supporting you and he's always there present. How has the journey been for you and your relationship with your husband?
So Raj and I have been together 25 years all together. Okay, so we dated and for 10 years, and we've been married for 15. And the dating era, like you said, pre
no
the
phones.
brand, no phones. He was in the UK, I was here trying to do some radio stuff and whatever, and then he came back and I became Miss India Kenya, and then I started just going everywhere and doing everything. And this guy was always with me, not because he was insecure or jealous or anything. It was just to support. I'd be at parties and he'd be like, I'll just sit in the car and wait for you. Whenever you're done, just let me know. I'm outside. Because he's an introvert. He was always an introvert. And he slowly came out of his shell, sort of, got to know people, but he likes his privacy. He really does. You will see him do some silly stuff sometimes on my gram, and I keep saying to him, I'm like, you are my money maker, because people love him.
I've actually noticed when, he's on your videos, everyone's like, oh my God, he's so hilarious. We love him. Why is he not there more?
So, but he's just like, he's, again, maybe another reason that I feel very grounded, because he's unfazed. He's unfazed by trends and, all these, the craziness that sometimes takes over in the media world. He's unfazed completely. He keeps saying, we don't live for people. Nobody, we're the ones who are feeding ourselves. So why should we look for any validation externally?
It's amazing. Some solid advice there.
He's the guy who's like, I've wished you happy birthday. I
Yeah.
don't need to do it online.
Oh,
He's like, please, and please, if I buy you a gift, don't post it online. You know, he's that person. He's
Okay.
like, please, let's just keep it here, which is nice. I do like that.
Yeah. You have 2 beautiful children,
Yay.
of course, and your daughter is she's got so much personality, and I see so much of you in her.
Okay.
You know, when you're on social media, the
Yeah.
things she tells you, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, she's so confident.
She's sassy.
Right?
She's really sassy. But that's, again, this generation, you know. So someone asked her, I think we were doing a photo shoot together, and she did a little bit of a catwalk. And
Yeah.
someone's like, oh, you're going to be Miss India, Kenya, like your mommy. And she said, I'm not going to be anything like my mommy.
She said that?
Yeah, and she said it right in front of me, and I didn't take any offense because
Yeah.
they're not mini-me's, right?
Yes.
Our kids are not supposed to be who we are. They're supposed to be who they're meant to be. And I really like that she has that attitude, and she knows what she wants to do and who she wants to be. Yeah, so this is what mom does, but I want to be
do
my
this.
own person.
Yeah. Which is incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, at this age, you know, already having the ability to tell people that I want to be myself, I want to
Yeah.
be who I am.
Exactly.
And that's just so nice to see. So
Yeah.
as a mom, you know, do they know that mommy's famous firstly? I'm
Oh my
curious to
God,
know.
all the time. And like when I walk into any place, whether it's the Skari or
Yeah.
somebody, hi Pinky, they even say hi to the kids, hi Ari and hi Ariana. And you know, they're like, how do you know us? So my son, who's 8, apparently Googled me in school.
That's hilarious. I love him.
And he went and showed everyone. He's like, look,
That's my
this is
mom.
my mother.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, you don't do those things. You know. So he went to a party, and I think as one of the party favors, he was given a photo of himself. So
Okay.
each child got a photo of themselves.
Okay.
And I was like, how did she get this photo? It's not something I gave her. So he goes, so you mean even I'm famous? Even I can be found on Google? I'm like, calm down, child. Calm down. You're not famous. But yeah, I mean, like they have an awareness, but it's not something we focus on.
That's super cute though. He's just Googling you. It's cool. I love
so
it.
Funny. He's so funny. And then he told his father the other day, he's like, I am Aryan Ghelani. His father was like, really?
Are you sure?
Are you sure? You sure about that?
I have sense of
Yeah.
humor already at 8.
Oh, they are. I love that about them. They
Yeah.
have a great sense of humor, both of them.
Yeah. It's so nice to you know, hear these things, and like kids of these days, sometimes I just wonder, I'm like, where do you think from? Where do you get all these ideas?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's nice.
It's amazing, and it's nice to see.
Yeah.
It's really great to see
Yeah.
how you know they're with it. And we always say, oh, but you know, I worry about the future for them, but they know what they're gonna do. They're very aware. We just have to guide them as parents.
Yeah. Becky, let's talk about your work with the UNHCR and,
Okay.
of course, the amazing work that you've done with the United Nations when it comes to food security. And, of course, you've always been quite the public figure when it comes to, you know, fighting and, of course, using your voice for the good of others. So how's that journey been, and how long have you been doing it for, and what next?
Okay, so I'm a high-profile supporter. They call me an HPS for UNHCR, which is, you know, it's always an honor, especially when, you know, brands as big as UNHCR reach out to you to be a voice on their behalf.
Right.
It's just amazing.
Priyanka Chopra is one of the ambassadors.
For UNICEF.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. So, I mean, like, I was like, okay, if you feel that I'm that person for you, then yes, I will do it. UNHCR works with refugees.
Okay.
So I champion for refugee women and the girl child. So I've been to Kakuma a few times. It's pretty, you know, eye-opening what goes on over there.
Yeah, the refugee camps.
And with the drought ongoing currently, it's hard. You know, what happened in Turkey and Syria. So that also falls into our docket, just bringing awareness and sort of saying that we can also make a difference. I really believe that when it comes to our issues within Africa, we don't really need to look externally. If we really put our minds to it, we can. We can be our solution.
Brilliant. And as we wind up, one last message for all the beautiful women who are watching and who look up to you, and who just see, you know, a woman who is simply being herself, who is an inspiration, a role model. So what would you like to tell those young girls and young women?
I think what I'd like to say to the young women is that we live in a world that is extremely easily influenced. So this is why I say you really need to learn yourself. You need to know who you are in order for you to show up. Think about who you are long term, so that you're not looking for shortcuts. And long term means hard work sometimes, and hard work has never killed anybody.
Right.
You know, so the idea is for you to have integrity, for you to be able to show up as you, authentically you, no matter what the world says you should be. Just completely own who you are.
Yeah.
And again, going back to that, do you want infamy or do you want fame? Because it's very easy. Infamy is very easy.
It's very easy to get lost along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's easy to, you know, show a bit of skin on social media and suddenly your views go up. But is that who you want to be? Is that who you want your daughter to be? So really think hard, because in today's world we do live in the information age. Your digital footprint is everything, and due diligence is being done all around. So whether you're applying for a visa or a job, or if UNHCR wants to find you and ask you to be a voice for them, they are looking at who you are, and they're going as far back possible as they can.
Yeah, and they will check your social media
There
first.
you go. Yeah, there you go.
In
so
a big boardroom.
just be wary. Just be wary of who you want to show up as, and that's it. That's all I could say. And celebrate yourself every day. Don't let anyone tell you that your light is too bright.
Wow. I feel the energy. I feel it, 100%.
You're feeling it? Great.
I feel it. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you,
It's an
Shiksha.
absolute pleasure having you here.
Amazing. And look at you, you know, look at what you're doing. It's phenomenal. So I want to, you know, take this opportunity to congratulate you.
Fun fact, I remember my first interaction with you was actually, I called you up because I was doing the Miss India Kenya
I remember.
pageant. And I was like, you know, I was always a huge, I mean, I still am, big fan of you and what you've done and how graceful you are on the runway. So she gave me a few modeling classes, and I think it kind of worked because I was first runners-up.
Yay!
Yeah, so thank you once again for being so willing and open to helping others, other young girls and women.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we all just have to help one another. There's enough of the pie for all of us to eat.
We can be a big, happy family.
That's it.
Thank you. Thank you once again. So, you know, I just want to say as we wrap up that keep being you and keep just, you know, showing up as yourself, because that's just really pushing the rest of us to do just the same.
Oh, thank you, Shiksha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
An absolute pleasure right here to have Pinky Ghelani on the show. We'll do this again next week. Same time, same place. Until then, don't go too far, because coming up, Cole Jack's on the decks as he brings in that Friday fever. Cole Jack's, you ready?
Very ready.
Always ready. Good night from me. Bye-bye.
It's gotta be DJ Cole Jack. This is the game.
Miniko grind wakidoz pia naomba so pia usimaini nikiflows ni shukrani narudisha kwa Wanjiko Kimani simgemjua pia nyimgempea shukrani kwa pilka niko jukuna mali mina dai kufika na focus kwa compass ukiona nimeficha sio na macho pekee unaweza ona visions officials pekee wananijua initials get rich or die poor niko na phobia kurudi mali nilikuwa nikulondia the top ni sawa inakubalika jukule down inakuanga was mara kuna wale unisikiza kuna wale unisikia kudedi bila purpose no kitumia ufea nikiamka kesho bado nakimbia na nikilala leo bado pesa inaingia wale unisikiza wale unisikia